Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. So, today we have Soham with us, and we will be discussing a very important topic: the harsh realities of moving to United States and Canada. Soham has lived in Canada for the last 7 years, 6 to 7 years. He did his master's in civil engineering in a Canadian university and currently working as a structural engineer there. I also has done my masters in United States and currently working for the last 6 years. So basically, I also have stayed here for like around 8 years now in United States. So today we will be actually discussing and sharing what are some of the harsh realities that one can face, like if who will come to United States or Canada to do their masters to get their life rolling, right? So we will be talking about that because we see in Instagram, many people in Instagram, in Facebook, in all these social media apps, like they always post the flowery pictures that they are in Niagara Falls, in Grand Canyon, in California, in New York City. But 90% of the time they are not doing that. They are in their room worrying about something. They have the financial strains. So we will be considering all of the aspects, that what we have faced, what we have seen, experienced, other people have faced. That's what we also have seen. So we will be discussing all of that. So Soham, first, do you want to say something about how was your experience, like the first 2 years, let's say, when you did your masters, and what you have also seen other people who has done masters with you?
Yeah, so thanks for having me here. So basically, like so I was working in India for a couple of years before moving to Canada, and before that I completed my undergrad. So of course, life in India is totally different because you're always surrounded with people in India, and that would be a huge contrast when you are moving to anywhere abroad, especially in the West, be it Europe or be it North America. It's always that people are um, like more of they like to live by themselves, and so it's not like India that you are always surrounded with a lot of people. So you have to learn how to live with yourself, be independent, both financially and at the same time like emotionally as well, right? So that's one stark contrast. Like even working in India, it's just always people that you are talking to, and it's of course, like when you're surrounded with Indians, it's completely a like different mindset than when you're surrounded with people from different countries, right? Where you have like minorities of Indian, right? So that's like some of the difference that I observed when I came, but not so much during my masters because a lot of international students in Canada or in US are from India. So at least in like during my masters, there were a lot of students from India, but I also got to talk and understand the culture of people from living born and brought up in North America, or a lot of European people, people from all over the world. So that was an enriching experience. But at the same time, it's not that you are always surrounded with them. So as you said, like most of the time you have to be or you are with yourself, and like initially you're not that financially strong, right? Because the conversion rate, right? So when you are coming to North America and you're coming from India, then there's always a conversion factor, right? So the currency in India is not as strong as currency in US or in Canada, right? So any time you are spending your Indian money in Canadian dollars or USD, you will at the back of the mind you'll start converting even trivial expenses, right? Like taking a like even getting a dinner would cost like $20 in here, which is like 1400 $1500 sorry, rupees in India, right? So that's always there at the back of your mind. That's just the initial part when you're a student, but at the same time you get to learn a lot too. But yeah, that's just few of the observations that I have made. But if you want to add something to it, yeah, you can do that.
Sure. So, whatever you said, they are very valid points that you get to stay alone a lot of your time. You get to stay alone because the social life in United States or Canada is not like that of India, where because also you stay within the same community, so you able to connect much better initially, right? Because you have to learn how to connect with different people who doesn't think like exactly like you, who has different habits, different cultures. But it is interesting, you get to learn those, that are kind of when you go through that uncomfortable phase, it is enriching at the end of the tunnel, but initially you have to face that discomfort, right? So apart from that, I will add few points which I have seen, because as I said, it's not all rosy picture that is painted in all over the internet. Because when you come to United States, you have to do all the cooking, cleaning, room cleaning, like groceries, you have to go to groceries, you have to do all of those things, right? And 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 if you also, let's say financial, if many people in India, let's say they haven't got any scholarship, they think that okay, if I go to United States after first sem or something, like the 3 or 4 months period, spring or fall, they will be able to get some RA position, TA position, or some sort of scholarship. I mean, it is not like, it doesn't work like that. It is extremely difficult and competitive. You have to compete with the entire class, and even after that, you may not find a position because there is no open position, even if you have topped that class, right? So also that is very important. One thing, you should choose colleges where there are a lot of research is being done. Like you can see professors who are doing a lot of research, so there is at least some hope. But still, it is very, those positions will be very competitive. You have to be the top of your class, that is for sure. That's a bare minimum criteria to be a RA or a TA, whatever it is. And and if you think that okay, I will get a job in a library or in a student center somewhere, that is also difficult. It's not there is no reason to think that I will automatically get it. You have to apply it, and if there is an opening, if it matches, you might get it. But but you cannot just assume things, and it's always best if you prepare beforehand. Like you, before even coming to the states, you start applying to those jobs. Like if you see jobs, talk to your seniors, see what are the jobs available in that campus. If it's a big campus, there will be more jobs available for students. So try to prepare before even coming to states. Like always work, like don't put things at the last moment. Because even if you, let's say for a simple task like registration of a class, if you put in the last moment, you will see all the class is registered, it's like full, you are not able to take the class. So even a basic thing like you want to take a class, there is competition even in that. So this is like the basic, this is like the the few things which are like very common. Like driving, even driving, you have to learn driving if you don't know, because you will be, even if you know driving in India, it's a little different, because here you have to drive the right side. In India, it's the left side, left hand driving basically, right? So those are few things, like the first few difference. And after that, let's say you complete all of the, you went through your MS, enter MS, you did a good score. And then comes the next part, when Som and I can discuss the next part. These are the some of the problems: financial, cleaning, drying, emotional disconnect, right? Because alone, he or she will be staying alone most of the times. And then let's move to the next part. Let's say he or she needs to find an internship. What challenges some people face in Canada to find an internship?
Internship meaning like work positions like after graduation, right? Or during the
Well,
studies.
during the studies, let's say he or she completed 1 year or 1.5 years of studies and want work.
Okay, so there are like two kinds of programs in Canada, master's program. So one type of program includes a co-op, so they call it a co-op position. So in which like one of the semesters or one of the terms, as it is called in here, that you are allowed to work like 1 or 2 terms, you are allowed to work in a company, and in which you can gain your experience. But again, those positions are again like very competitive. So and here like unlike India, there's a lot of like networking that's required to secure even an internship. So uh, because it's not a regular campusing that happens in North America. So every one has to find their own internship, their own job. So in that regard, the positions are competitive. So my program was not a co-op program, so I didn't do an internships. I was working as an RA for my supervisor. But I know a lot of my friends who were in a co-op program. So a lot of them I know got into good companies doing their co-op. And what that helps is it helps to secure the job, because usually the company with which someone is doing a co-op, usually if they are performing well, the company will hire that person, right? It's actually beneficial for the company as well as for the candidate. But at the same time, I've also seen people who were in a co-op position but couldn't find a co-op within industry. So I've seen situation like that. So I think a few points here to note is, one is to understand how networking works and start networking with people from your same field. I'll start looking at the companies that hire people of your skill set. So basically, like even in civil engineering, there are a lot of different fields, right? So structure is one of them, transport is one of them. So try to find, if you're doing a research, try to find a company that's working very close to your research area, because that's going to improve your hiring chance a lot. And the more knowledge you have, the better salary you can actually ask for, right? So yeah, so these are basically a few things. And know when to apply. And as Shanto was saying, everything was like very competitive. Like even for me, I remember like course selection. So for me, so when I came, so one of the course was really a very hot topic. And that was my first term. So everybody, and I came like 6 7 days before the term started. And usually it's like 15 20 days or 1 month before the course registration starts and the course get full. So I had to like get a special permission and sign from like 2 3 different professors and head to get into that course. So of course everything is competitive, and you have to know things beforehand and plan for it. You cannot just think that the next day the co-op term will start and some companies waiting for me, right? So yeah, so that's about it. So a lot of planning and networking, and improving your skill set. That's super important. Like even if you get a poor position, if you're not able to perform, then that's not a good thing, right? So yeah,
No,
that's
very well said. So, like some of the things are exactly similar in United States, that you have to plan very ahead of the time. Like, let's say you want to have a internship. It's called internship in United States. So let me call it an internship. You want an internship in summer, but you have to have your resume. Summer means, I'm saying, let's say May to June, July. You want to have a May and June and July. You want to work for 3 months as an intern. So you have to have all your applications submitted before January itself. Try to do that. That's the best situation, if because companies will already start interviewing and selecting candidates, like selecting the resumes. They will, and by the end of February somebody will get the internship. Now let's say you start your distributing your resumes to the companies by the end of February, and you think, okay, in March I will uh, put all the resumes out. But you are limiting your scope, your chances, by a high margin, very high margin. Because I work in the civil engineering industries. I have seen people always prefer, there will be some options, some offices who are lagging a little bit. They may be, yeah, they maybe are still interviewing in March and April also, because there are some offices that will be lagging, but most offices will try to be on top of their game. They will try to take the best candidate. So that's the one of the thing regarding internships. And as Suham said, there is no placement even in United States. There are career fairs where companies will come and tell you that these are the openings we have. If you are interested, you can apply, and after that it's all that you have to basically convert it. It's not that companies will come and for sure give you a interview chance. They may not even call you. Like you they Because it happened with me. I went to the career fair and I was entry level, and as many people know, in entry level civil engineering the value is very less, and it's more difficult to get a job as an entry level civil engineer. And so basically I got like a lot of there was a lot of positions that were discussed, and I went home, I talked with the people and went home, emailed everybody, and like, I think, as far as I remember, I think 100% of them never replied me back. It happened with me. Then I had to basically do the same process, apply to many companies, like all the positions in AECOM, WSP, Jacobs, everything, wherever I had. And then, yeah, like 2 4 5 interviews were coming, but I may have applied at least like 150 or 200 minimum by that time, and then 4 5 started coming, right? So you have to accept the rejection, like hardcore rejection. And let's say you are alone, you are not able to handle the other stuffs well, you are not able to cook, you have their emotional because you have the emotional attachment to your home country, to your parents, your relatives, your friends in India, and you are alone and trying to work it out, and you are on top of it, you are getting 10 rejections, like one rejection after another, and you have only 3 months to find a job because your graduation date is coming near. So it puts a mental pressure to you, but you always have to, because that's where your growth starts to happen. You have to kind of get used to it, get that used to that pressure. So it's not all rosy. That's what we actually wanted to talk about, because many people think United States, Canada, it's all about fast cars, high big lanes, uh, New York City, San Francisco, Chicago, built tall buildings. It's not like that. You have to go through that grind. When nobody is seeing you, you're still like in it, you're still applying, you're getting the rejections, you're still improving your skills, you are at the top of your skills and still improving your skills and still getting rejected, right? So all of them should be lined up, and then one can crack, and you only need one internship or one job. You don't need like 5 internship, 5 jobs. So that should be your thought process, that I only need to crack one. Maybe I can get 100 rejection, that's fine, but I only need to crack one interview or one whatever that is. So yeah, so and one more thing, as Suham said, I will also point on that networking that you need to do. Networking, as I said, in career fairs, if you call that networking, then I got 100% rejected. I talked with them and they said, yeah, apply it, there are positions open. They showed me the opening positions, I applied them and they rejected me. But that is okay, that is a networking, that is one type of networking, but you have to form deeper connections than that, much deeper connections. With whom? Let's say somebody, your professors is one of the first ones who can recommend you. So obviously you have to perform good at your college in the classes and have a good connection with your professors. Number two, you have to have a deeper connection with, let's say there is an adjunct professor coming from the industry. You should have a good bond with him, because he's the one who can employ you at his firm, like where he's working. For sure you have to have a good relation with him also. He is coming from the industry, he knows how it works. And then your seniors, your peers. Let's say I stayed with my senior, I used to stay, so in 2 years he was my roommate also, so I kind of have a good attachment with him, right? We knew each other, so he referred me to many positions also, and even we are very in good touch right now, even today. And then let's say, and let me tell you this thing, the first job that I got in United States, I mean, I don't know if he will listen to this video or not, but he was Pablo Sanchez, he was my classmate, and I never even asked him that, hey, is there any opening at your firm or something like that. He just came to me and suddenly asked me, hey, do you need a job? Like, and he basically, he gave me that an opportunity to get an interview at his farm, and I just got the job like that, because he did most of the things, right? So you need to have a good, but eventually I did not join that company, I actually joined another firm. But you have to have the moral of the story is, you have to have good relations with your peers, with your seniors, adjunct professors, and your professors. These four are your pillars. That the better connections you have, in terms of in days where you are having that trouble, they can kind of give you a little bit boost. But yes, you have to cross the finish line, but at least they can give you a little bit boost. Now let's move forward. Let's say the people get a job, right? Then what are some of the harsh realities he or she, let's say he or she get a job in a different city, in a different state, right? Again, he has to basically have no contact in that state. What he or she has to go through, basically, in Canada, let's say, from your experience?
So of course, like whenever you're moving to a new city or a new place, you won't be knowing people, right? So if you are in like in a familiar place, like eventually you start knowing people or not, right? Moving to a new city, new place, you again start to form relationship with people. You start to, your social life will again not be that active as compared to what you had before. So and then you have to basically build more relationship, try to mix with more people, but that's again not easy, right? Because like especially if you're moving to a place where most of the people are locals, let's say, because because your culture is so much different from theirs. It's hard to get a social connection with them. Like eventually you get connected with a lot of people, but it's just the starting or like initial phase. It takes more time basically than if you are uh, like mixing with Indian people or
Hmm.
South Asian people in general. So that's I think one of the discomforting situation, I would say, when you are moving to a new place. But eventually you get settled, right? And like what I've seen is you study at one university at one place, and at the end of the day 90% of the people who have studied with you would move away from that place. So eventually 5 to 10% people will stay back at the same city, and 90% would move to places where there are more jobs basically. So for example, in Canada, Toronto is almost like New York, right? It has most of the jobs are concentrated, especially in Ontario. Most of the jobs are concentrated in the Toronto region, and they call it the GTA, Greater Toronto Area. So that's the area in which most of the jobs are concentrated in. So I studied in University of Windsor. So and Windsor is not that big of a city. So there are few civil engineering firms in Windsor, but most of them are in Toronto, in Ontario. But there are firms in like other province as well, like BC. So Vancouver is a another hot city in which you have a lot of companies. But Toronto, again, the life is so much difficult, especially if you move to a big city, because it's kind of similar. Like you get a lot of traffic. Driving, if you're going to office, driving back would be stressful because there's so much traffic and all. Some you have to know which area you're going, because it may not be safe. So these are some of the problems of like moving to a big city. But I have always been living in smaller cities. So in smaller cities, you don't have this kind of travel. So, traveling, like commuting is much easier, simpler. You have fewer people, nice neighborhoods, and all that. Like even like living expense is cheaper in smaller cities. So again, it depends on the preference of people. So for me, I like I'm not that far from a big city, and it's kind of a mid-sized city, but it's not like Toronto. It's just that it's too hectic and too busy. Like same thing, I would say. Like you're living in New Jersey, so I think New York would be another place. Like even New Jersey is like that, right? It's too crowded. So yeah, so that's about it. So it's just you have to, but at the end of the day, eventually, you get adjusted to all of it. Like I'm sitting in we're sitting in US and Canada, and complaining about traffic. So that's because we are coming from a country in which there are so much traffic and pollution and all that, right? So but this is just like one of the factors. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, at least that's one of the very good important thing that Soham said, that when you move to a new city, the kind of challenges you again faced. Same thing happened with me. I first got my job in the same city, but like 9 to 10 months after that, I had to move to another city because of the visa issues, which is another challenge which I will come right now for the US people who are actually moving to US. That after you kind of went through all of this, there will be a new set of challenges when you get the job. That is a visa issues, which the Canada doesn't have it. I mean,
So
much
Shanta,
much less.
can you just like in a nutshell explain like the like different visa processes, starting from your student visa to work visa to how much time it takes to get a PR, just in a nutshell, so that it's just in context.
Sure, sure, sure. No, so first, like let's say actually I came as an intern first here. Even Soham came as an intern. So for let me start from the very first. Like if you come as an intern, you will get a J1 visa. Like I came as an intern at third year, and then next after I complete my bachelor's fourth year, I came here for a master's. Then you will first get your F1 visa, and in F1 visa you can study for 2 years. Let's say you studied for 2 years in F1 visa, then you can work in F1 visa for 3 years, which is called F1 OPT. So for 3 years you can work in F1 OPT. But those people who has already, this is just for a very limited set of people who have done a J1, who had a J1 visa previously. You also have to get a NORI, which is called non no objection from the Indian government. So you, before you apply for your H1B visa, right, which is another, which is also takes 6 months to 7 months time. So for people who has a J1 visa, try to do that as soon as possible. Don't wait till before you start applying H1B, otherwise your H1B will get rejected, because I also did it. But anyway, it worked out well for me, but it's best to start much earlier than that. But yes, after, as we said, in F1 OPT, then you have 3 years of F1 OPT. Within this time you need to get your H1B visa done. And then in H1B you have 6 years of H1B visa time, and within this 6 years of H1B visa you have to file for your green card. And green card basically for Indians and for Chinese people, but mostly for Indians, it takes a long time, at least 10 to 11 years to get your actual green card after the time you get your I-140. So when they file your green card, first step is like, you will get your I mean there are 3 4 steps. Like they will first check your labor, then they will file for your perm, and then they will go for your I-140. So once you get your I-140, basically you can renew your H1B as long as you want. So these are the steps basically, for an internationals regarding the visa process.
So I'll just ask, a couple of questions just for,
Sure, sure.
clarification. So what are the restrictions there in your F1 OPT visa? So like, what are the conditions? Like, are you allowed to work in any sector?
Oh,
Uh,
well, yeah, that's a very
and
good
like, what
question.
happens when someone loses a job? And if you can say a little bit about that, yeah.
Yeah, so in F1 OPT, you can only work, your education and your work needs to be aligned. Like whatever you completed your education in, you have to find a job in the same sector, right? And let's see, if you lose a job, it's not just for F1, it applies for even H1B and all the way. Only after you get the green card, this thing gets removed. But before that, you have to, when you lose a job, you have to find another job within 60 days. So which is the most challenging part, right? And there is another limitations to F1 OPT visa. The first year, that the company that you are working for, the first years, it will only get going to the second 2 years if your company is e-verified. The company needs to be e-verified, so that you will get your 2 year of extension, and basically you get your 3 years of F1 OPT visa. Because it happened with me, the company I was working, it was not e-verified. I came to know it, but now they are e-verified and everything is set. But at that time when I was there, it was not e-verified, and came to know at a very later point of time. So you also need to check if the company is e-verified, or at least talk with the HR beforehand. So these are the steps for being constrained for F1 OPT.
And like, how much time do you have after graduation to get a job
Yeah,
before
three
losing
months
it? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you have 90 days to find a job after you graduate. So within 90 days you have to find a job and F1 OPT, and you can work.
And if someone is not able to find a job within 90 days, what happens?
Then he has to go back to the country. So
That's
let's say that's another pressure. So as we are discussing about the harsh truths in United States, it's a very good question. So suppose somebody took so much loan in India to study in United States, and you have to find a job within the first 90 days, right? And as we already discussed, it's so much of challenge. You have to do your networking well, you have to understand your skills and your value, and where to apply. That is also which state to apply. Try to apply to states where it's immigration friendly, at least to civil engineers. I don't even think it's applicable to civil engineers. It's applicable to everybody. But there are more internationals. Try to apply in those states. The reason is, even your managers, even small firms, they know the immigration process very well. Like they kind of, because when I moved to New Jersey, there were like small firms. They knew what is green card. They were ready to file my green card even the first day itself. But it will almost never happen in a state, let's say, where I used to work before in Michigan. They don't even know what is a immigration, what is H1B, because it is very locally dominated. So always that is a very intelligent decision also, which I had to kind of understand much later when I worked in two states basically, and know people who have worked in many states. So from all the experience I understood, it's always better for internationals to work in states where there are more internationals, because your opportunity, you will get more opportunity to file for your H1B, to file for your green card. If you, just in case if your company is not doing, you are not in a, like in a middle of a sea, you can find another company who will do it, and they know what is it. So you don't have to explain it from scratch, what is an H1B, how can an international work. And then they will think, oh, it's a lot of trouble, let me get rid of him and let me hire somebody else. So that's few of the things. Yeah, so if you have anything else to ask.
Yeah, I think that's very nicely explained, the immigration process in US. I'd just like to add the process in Canada. So there's just a bit of difference, and I think for like immigration like processing, Canada is much more immigrant friendly. So how the process works in Canada is, once somebody has graduated their any course or any program which is more than 2 years, or which is equivalent to 2 years, like a master's program, they would be eligible to get a work permit, but it's an open work permit. So that means that it won't expire until 3 years. So whether you're working or not working, you can choose to work after 1 year, you can choose to work after 2 years. It's totally up to you. But your visa is not going to expire, and you can stay up to 3 years in Canada. So that's one of the difference. And the other thing is, it's an open work permit, meaning whichever field you have studied, you may choose to work in some completely different field, and you won't have a problem in doing that. So, but that being said, of course, you would try to find job at least close to your field, but at least it gives you some flexibility. For example, someone who is in IT, if he wants to, or if he or she wants to go to let's say a product manager role, so that, or say some different management kind of role, so they have that flexibility, which I think has there's a bit of a limitation in the US side. And finding and getting a permanent residency also is a relatively easier process, at least the time when I was applying. So it's a point based system, and what used to happen was, if you had 1 year of work experience in Canada, full time work experience, and you have your masters, and you have a good IELTS score, the English language, uh, like that exam, the TOEFL or IELTS score. So usually they just take IELTS, they don't take TOEFL. Uh, so if you have these things, usually most people get those, are able to fulfill those requirements within 1.5 years. So they're eligible to apply for the PR and for the permanent residency, and that's also a relatively faster process. It used to be a relatively faster process. So for example, my application got processed like in 3 months. But nowadays it's always like everywhere, the immigration process has slowed down, so nowadays it may take a little bit longer time. But overall the process is a bit, or not a bit, I would say much simpler in Canada in terms of immigration. But that being said, the Canadian economy is much smaller than United States economy. So the number of jobs, the opportunities, even I would say the salary is not comparable to US. So there are a lot more opportunities in US compared to Canada. But in terms of immigration, and it's relatively simpler process in Canada.
No, that is very rightly, I mean, very well explained by you regarding the immigration process in Canada. So, one more quick thing before we wrap it up, I would also like to add the next step. Like in, there are the couple of challenges that we will also face in United States regarding the immigration is right now it's happening more, the number of applicants in your H1B lottery. Like the number of applicants right now, it's like, let's say you did everything right, we talked about all those challenges you faced initially, you came here, you had a loan, you had to cook, you had to learn driving, you had to clean, and then you found a job somehow, you've got an internship and you found a first job after you completed your masters with a big loan, right? And then you convinced your employer to file an H1B for you. So basically you kind of passed all these hurdles, right? All the hurdles in a new country, you passed it. And now the chances of you getting your green card, your H1B in the lottery is actually 10%, because 80,000 applicants will be selected. Out of this year 2023, there are 700,000 applications. So basically, it's like 10, it's little over 10%, around 11% if you have an advanced degree. And if you do not have an advanced degree, then it is less than 10, because there is a 20,000 quota for advanced degree. So this is actually, I mean, this problem is happening because of people filing multiple H1Bs. So if you are one of those candidates who are filing multiple H1Bs, I don't think it is legal at this point of time, but USCIS is working on it. But let's say somebody from an industry like civil engineering, where you have to find a proper civil engineering job, a proper employer, and they will only file for your H1B once you have proved your expertise in that area. Then basically you have only one shot. You are one applications out of 700,000, and you did everything correct, and you have 10% of chances of getting that H1B selected, right? So, and let's say you have a lot of loan also, right? So you have to think about that. So yes, there are challenges, there are a lot of challenges here. But it's not just challenges, there are a lot of things which are on the good side also. It's not like everything is we are trying to portray, but we are just in this video we are trying to portray the challenges that you will face. It's not always all the things are rosy, right? Yes, there are like higher salaries, there are good work cultures, you will have better roads, infrastructures, right? A lot of opportunities, and you will also grow yourself. But we can discuss, I think, that in a separate video, right? So I think it's already like 40 minutes.
Yeah, but I think it's just better to close with a few good
Okay.
experiences that
Hmm.
you had, or I'll just like chip in a few more. But like if you
Sure,
have,
sure, sure. No, yeah, you are right. Like, it's as we said, these are actually your challenges, but it's not like things are always like, it's not like everything is bad here. Not like that. Once when you will get your, like, we had an RA, so that was a very good, like a restart button, at least for me. Like when I got the RA, I kind of became more motivated that, hey, I will, this time I will not leave this opportunity. Like I mean, I will have to kind of work very hard, learn the skill set. And this was like, the masters was more like a restart button for me. Like I just wanted to start it fresh, and it was a new country, so I know like this time I cannot mess it up just by goofing around and doing pranks and stuff. I cannot just miss this opportunity, because whatever happened in bachelors, that's done. New country, fresh opportunity, I have to do make out the best use of it, right? And then yes, and at the end of the day, when you do your learnings, like let's say you're cooking, driving, these are good skills. Like I still remember, like when the first time I actually drove, like for the first 2 hours, I went to a, basically it was I was actually had to go to a job interview, and it was like 2 to 3 hours away from that my home apartment. And I never drove that far. I always drove like 15 minutes in the territory of the campus. I never drove like for 3 hours. And trust me, I went there 3 hours driving, came back, I did not get the job, but I was so happy. You know why? Because I was happy because I learned driving. It felt like I learned driving. They never called me. I was like not even worried about that with the job, because I had to go 3 hours to the job location, came back 3 hours, and I felt like kind of like a bird. I know now I can go anywhere in United States. I'm not limited to only nearby areas, right? So these are actually good experiences which you will get once you do your hard work. Once you cook, you will see, oh man, I'm cooking good, right? And then let's say you will also have the opportunity to actually work with other people. You will understand, appreciate their culture. Your roommates might be different. Like for me, I had a roommate from Nepal, Iran, and like even from India, South Indian people. So I had kind of understood their culture, appreciate their thought processes, what they need. So you will get more patient and try and be able to see their point of view, right? And even in work life, because work life, it's like lot of people, different people. Like we are in civil industry, so there are more locals or people from other countries, right? So these are some of the very good points, that because you will grow yourself, you will appreciate, you will become more independent, self reliant, you will have more confidence at your decisions because they are coming from experience, right? So, and yes, if you can manage your finances well, which is very important. Like, we also made a finance video, if you want to see, that was Dave Ramsey's book we covered. Try to follow some of the tips, or try to use like proper strategies, not like whatever you think, just see whatever methods has worked out for a long time. So, because you would have to have a control on your finances, because trust me, it will be, otherwise it will be very difficult. You do not want that sort of burden. And yeah, Soham, if you want to add some good points, because we told a lot of negative points and harsh truths in this video.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, after 5 to 6 years, because it will take you to some time to settle down. But at hindsight, if you see, if you compare your life in India to your life in any Western countries, so I think like few of the positive points I would like one of the point is, of course, the better environment, better weather, right? So that's because in India it's scorching heat and all, and sometimes in summer
Pollution.
there's a lot of pollution, so much of traffic, right? But here, like even the scenic beauty is a lot more than in India, right? Like I've seen like US, Canada, it's kind of the similar, the way the roads are, the infrastructures are planned, the kind of natural, the number of trees and greeneries, so all these are looks really nice, and helps cheer up your mood, right? So you're not unless you're living in a very busy city, like downtown of a very busy city. If you are living a little bit away from that, you get to experience that. So commuting would be going at a like in a high speed road in your car, you know looking at nice view and going to the office, right? Like or like all the Canadian cities are at like lakeside, so you get to see the lake, which almost looks like sea, with waves and all. So it's a like very nice scenic beauty, I would say. Um, so that's one of the thing. There are a lot of activities that people do here. So like water-based activities like canoeing, kayaking. So in summer, even hiking. Barbecue is very common in here. So any sunny day, like we usually go plan for a barbecue. You can do it in the backyard, have few friends over. So all these things, because the weather is so nice in summer, all these things you can plan. Those water-based activities. Even camping is very common. So a lot of people, any long weekend or any weekend also, you can just go to a nearby place, and there are so many spots actually. The place I live, I have like 5 to 6 beaches in like 10-minute distance, and like really nice beaches with like dark blue colored water and clear water. So the kind of picture you see in the wallpapers or movies or stuff like that. So these things are also there. It's not that it's not there. And in like winter, there are like winter sports like skiing, snowboarding, and I'm not that comfortable with those kind of winter sports, but I've seen a lot of my colleagues, every year they go and do that. So yeah, and even like indoor based activities. So it's also very common. So like our office, like usually we go 3-4 months to like do like a bowling night and socials and all that. So yeah, these are like some of the things that will keep you motivated. So I think we have covered a lot of like difficulties. We just want to end with the positive side as well, just in a nutshell. So that just get kind of a balanced view of what's there in the West.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, further questions, or some topics that you want us to discuss, even it maybe it be Canada, maybe United States, please feel free to share it in our comment sections, in our comment sections of this video. We will be more than happy to make a video on that topic. And please subscribe to our channel. We need your motivations. We want to make good videos so that we want to help you guys. So yeah, and like, please like and share this video to your friends who might be actually needing it, right? Maybe now or in future they are coming to either Canada or to United States. They need to know the reality, both sides, maybe. And yes, so there are much more better sides also, but we can discuss separately if we want in another video. Like if we want to go into the detail of how the job aspects are, like salaries, the jobs, the kind of jobs that we do, civil engineering. So what can your growth prospects, the kind of colleagues you can expect, the work culture. So we haven't touched on a lot of points, so but we kind of wanted to give you a harsh reality. So we just don't want you to think it's all rosy in the West and you will just come here and enjoy and have a good time. No, you will face some hard difficulties as well. So yeah, thank you. I think that's it for today. Have a great day.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you so much. Have a good day.